Here on 100 Yards of Football. Today, we take it from the football field to the pristine basketball courts. And not only any basketball court, we take you to the shotgun neighborhood houses of Binghamton down in Memphis, Tennessee, off the bluffs. Ladies and gentlemen, probably one of the most, if not the most, revered name from the city of Memphis. Ladies and gentlemen, Shaquille O'Neal is on record as recently saying that he was Kobe Bryant before Kobe Bryant came into the league. Ladies and gentlemen, a young man who was a Prop 48 casualty coming into college after being a parade All-American as a high school player in the city of Memphis. He sat for 2 years, and while doing so, ladies and gentlemen, he was shot in the foot with his career made to be in jeopardy. Also, the same Prop 48 casualty that made him sit for the first 2 years of his college career, he gained and earned a 3.4 GPA at Memphis State while studying education. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Memphis resident and native, Vincent Turner, goes in on the 4-time NBA All-Star, the 2-time All-NBA first-teamer, the All-NBA third-teamer in 1997, the NBA All-Rookie first-teamer back in 94. He was the NBA Rookie Challenge MVP in 1994, and also a consensus first-team All-American, a 2-time Great Midwest Player of the Year, and his jersey number 25, is retired by the Memphis Tigers. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing by the great Vincent Turner. He is the current coach of the Memphis Tigers basketball team, none other than Penny Hardaway. Is explored here on 100 Yards of Football. All people from the bluff, get ready to be revered.
If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I surely appreciate here at 100 Yards of Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Special thanks to my producer, Mr. Logan Landers. And thank you for the great introduction from my man with the voice, Mr. Mark Bass. Boy. I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, since I've been on this platform from the last 2 years. And I'm going to say this. When you go through your lifetime, you always say there's a story, there's a movie. And Memphis, Tennessee has had some great athletes, but they're not in the realms of like a New York City or LA or Atlanta, Georgia, even South Florida, when it comes from football, basketball, or baseball. But to say that I'm still living today, to see these young men, not only probably the greatest player in basketball history at the time, University of Memphis, by way of Memphis State, but being the coach of that program right now, I never thought I would see that. And it should tell you something about this gentleman on the screen here. See, he was a guy, had some rough goings when he came on campus at University of Memphis. As Mr. Bass said, he was a Prop 48 for 1 year. Was shot in the foot during that time he was out of school. Had some really serious obstacles he had to face when he was a child. He was raised by his grandmother, the only child. And yet still he came out to being one of the greatest basketball player to come out of the city of Memphis. Then he gets to the NBA and he sets it on fire. And then he has that serious knee injury and everything changes. Make no bones. I don't care how people out there feel about Penny Hardaway. If he wouldn't have got his knee hurt, he would have been an NBA greatest 75 players. But the one thing I like about Penny Hardaway that he done through that process is that once he finished his NBA career, he decided to come back home. He didn't go to move to LA. He didn't move to Atlanta. He came back to Memphis, Tennessee, the city on the bluff. And really wasn't going to really get into coaching until one of his friends who was dying of cancer said, hey, man, you got to do it for the city. You got to come back and coach these kids. Then he won some state championships over at East High School. And then the University of Memphis came calling 4 years ago. The program had experienced a lot of national love under John Calipari. But Penny said, no, y'all go ahead and hire Tubby Smith. He stayed away, but he came back at the right time. And last year, the Tigers made the NCAA tournament, got to the second round. Now, this year's team is not coming in with a lot of hoopla, but it might be his best team ever since he's been the coach there. But he's done his job. He's got the program making money. He sent 3 guys to the NBA draft, lottery picks, James Wiseman, Presell Kua, Jalen Durham. And it's all eyes on the city of Memphis and him as the head coach. But, true story, I have an honor of not seeing him becoming a pretty good college basketball coach and battling through adversity. But I saw this young man from day one coming up through the ranks of Memphis. I remember the first time I saw Penny Hardaway play. Annually, during the Thanksgiving season, Memphis has this basketball tournament. It's called the Martin Luther King Classic. It's held at Melrose High School. Orange Mound in the house. And ever since I was maybe 10 years old, they've had that tournament. And I believe it was 1987. I saw this young man, Penny. He was 6'3" as a freshman at Treadwell High School. A freshman starting at 6'3". At the time, Treadwell had Elliott Perry. That was the most acclaimed prospect in the city of Memphis, who ended up going to Memphis State at the time. And I watched him play that game, and I believe he had 10 points. He had like 4 assists. He had like 7 rebounds. But the thing I took from him, I started seeing a Magic Johnson more athletic. And at the time, I was living in Knoxville, Tennessee, visiting Memphis off and on. Then you know what happened with all these great players. They grow. And from his freshman year to his junior year, he ended up being 6'7". And the buzz was coming out through the state of Tennessee. Could we have maybe the greatest player that's ever played in the state? Which to this day, he is the greatest player that's played in the state of Tennessee. But could we have a guy that can really do something on a college level and do something on the NBA level? Then I got to see him play in the state tournament. They held that year at Murfreesboro. And as a junior, he had 32 points in the game against a guy by the name of Lane Wiseman, who ended up going to the University of Tennessee, was the second highest rated recruit out of Bolton. In that junior year, it was unbelievable what I saw on the floor. I saw a young man at 16 years old that had skills of Magic Johnson, could pass. That had skills that can get to the hole. His basketball IQ was like he had eyes in the back of his head. He was so much more advanced. But what stuck out to me was his athletic ability. And he had what you call that thump coming from the hood. Biggest thing changed his senior year. Carmen Curry is head coach at Treadwell High School. Probably the biggest decision that really changed Penny Hardaway around. See, going into the senior year, Penny got suspended for the first half of the season. Rumors were dealing with drugs, selling drugs. And that changed his whole career, man. Then he came back, had a decent senior year. But then going to Memphis, the University of Memphis, that they changed the name from Memphis State. I had moved back to Memphis in 91. And the previous year he had to set out, so he didn't get to play with Elliott Perry, who was a senior at the time. He had to set as a Prop 48. But all through the summer, as I moved back to Memphis back in June from Knoxville, Tennessee, the word on the street was, it's something finna come on this campus. There's something in this city that's going to be so explosive, so hyped, so at another level the next 2 years. Well, actually 1 year, because everybody thought he was going to go to the NBA after his sophomore year. It was something that I never experienced as a fan, as a person that loved that basketball program. It was must-see TV. And see, basketball is the sport in Memphis. Memphis is known for several things. One, Stack Records, Isaac Hayes, David Porter, known for barbecue, Payne's, the Rendezvous, Neely's, Tops, and Memphis State basketball, and all the great players that came through the city of Memphis. High school level, Johnny Newman, Mike Butler, Larry Finch, Ronnie Robinson, John Gunn, Bingo Smith, Larry Spicer, Richard Master Blaster, Michael Brooks, John Gunn, Alvin Wright, James Bradley, Steve Mitchell, Jerome Mincy, Anthony Big Jack Gordon, Lorenzen Wright, Michael Wilson, Philip Dooms Haynes, Baskerville Holmes. That's what basketball is serious, man. It's serious in Memphis. Here recently, Kennedy Chandler, James Wiseman, the Lawson brothers, Dietrich, Chandler, Ken, Dietrich. It's a way of life. And when that man stepped on campus in 1991, it was like the whole world of college basketball. Go back and look at it. I remember the first game at the Pyramid against DePaul. He was nervous, Penny Hardaway, but he came out, he had 20 points. Memphis lost that game 92-88. And that year, Memphis had an up and down season. They went 23-12, but they made it to the Elite Eight. There was a lot of distinction within the team. But boy, I remember that game that turned it around, man. It was 2 games that year, sophomore year, that I'm going to take to my grave. They ended up losing to Southern Mississippi 69-57. The team was 12 and 6 at the time, and Larry Finch was catching heat from the press. That was a talented team that Memphis had. They had Penny, they had David Vaughn, they had Anthony Douglas, they had Billy Smith, they had Tony Matlock. They had some serious people that can really play basketball. But that game, Clarence Witherspoon, remember him? About 6'5", can jump out of the gym. He was blocking everybody's shot that game. And I remember Penny came down the lane. Matter of fact, let me change the score. Memphis lost that game 65-57. And Penny elevated and dunked on it, Clarence Witherspoon. Like he threw the ball through the net. Granted, Memphis lost that game, but it changed the whole complex of the season. A couple of weeks later, Memphis came back and beat Arkansas, a nationally ranked Arkansas, and it turned the season around. That Arkansas team that had Alvin Miller, Lee Mayberry, Todd Day. And then they went on and finished second in the Metro Conference, ended up losing to Cincinnati. I'm going to get to that. A Cincinnati team that beat them 3 times and was a team that kept them from getting to the Elite Eight. A very good Cincinnati team coached by Bob Huggins. I'm going to go and put it out there. Nick Van Exel, Torrey Blunt. Outstanding team. Herb Jones, that was from Atlanta. Torrance Gibson, that was from Mobile, Alabama. But they were serious. Terry Nelson, a team that played hard defense and led by Nick Van Exel. That was the only roadblock. But Penny, when he got into the show, he put on the show against Pepperdine in the first round game against Mr. Doug Christie. Then he came back against Arkansas. Then he came back in the Midwest Regional Semifinals against Georgia Tech. Malcolm Mackey, you know what I'm talking about, that game. You know what I'm talking about. Mr. Barry, John Barry, you know what I'm talking about. James Forrest, you know what I'm talking about. Travis Best, you know what I'm talking about. Penny put on the show. But he couldn't do nothing against Cincinnati, as I just mentioned. And the Tigers went home his first year. And that summer, everybody just knew that he was going to turn pro. He kept quiet all the way up to the NBA deadline to declare. But he said, you know what? I really feel like next year I can bring a national championship to my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. Stack Records are going to be on top. Otis Redding, the Staple Singers, Isaac Hayes, Shaft. I was saying to myself, I was working at FedEx and UPS, it's going to happen. First game of the year, they played the Arkansas Razorbacks, my school, in Barn Hill Arena before 9,000 run fans. David Vaughn became a player. He came out of the gates, him and Penny rocking in that first half, and Memphis went up like 13 points. And Penny had really improved his outside shot. But in that game, David Vaughn got injured and tore his knee. And it changed the whole complex of that basketball team that year. Granted, they went 20-12 and made the tournament. But Penny ended up leading the team and scoring 22 points a game, averaging close to almost 10 rebounds a game, averaging almost 11 assists, became first team All-American census, but he could only do so much. But it was several games that stuck out that let me know that he was the best I've ever seen done it on any level. The BYU game in the Maui Classic when he had Magic Johnson in the stands. ESPN, go back and look at the BYU game. Put on the show, 38 points, 13 rebounds, 14 assists. And then the Vanderbilt game. That's right, I believe a guy here locally was breaking his chops into the broadcasting game. I believe Wes Durham, that's the head voice of the Falcons, was the man with Vanderbilt. And that's when Vanderbilt had Billy McCaffey leading the show. Very well coached team under Eddie Fogel. Vanderbilt had some shooters. And that night, I believe Memphis was down like maybe 6 or 8 at halftime. Penny came out and put a show on 35 points. I can't remember a crazy number of rebounding, 6 block shots. And Dick Vitale said after the game, said if this guy stayed healthy, he could be the best that ever played this game. Well, unfortunately, things didn't work out. Memphis ended up getting beat in the first round, NCAA tournament, but he did go in the NBA draft. Got traded for Chris Webber in the 93 draft. Him and Shaquille O'Neal made magic for the 3 small years that they were together. They got to the NBA Finals his second year in the league. And when he came in the league, he was dunking on Patrick Union, making Charles Barkley look crazy, taking it to Charles Oakley. But when he hurt his knee, everything changed. There's no question that he's the greatest that ever came from Memphis, playing basketball. And what I'm most proud of, I can't really believe that he's the head coach in Memphis right now. Because when you look at a guy like that, and you look how his NBA career went, and then all the endorsements and the money he made, Little Penny, dating Tyra Banks, you never think a guy would come home. But he thought enough to come back to an area that he loved. Whitehaven, Frazier, Binghamton, Orange Mound, South Memphis, Mississippi Boulevard, Elvis Presley, Southern Avenue. It can't get no better, man. By far the greatest basketball player I've seen on any level. It's just unfortunately injuries derailed his NBA career. But go look back at his film. I had somebody tell me yesterday, and I love him to death, that he really didn't see nothing so great about Penny as a college player. And I said, what? Now, Penny might have rubbed some people the wrong way, but go look at that BYU game his junior year. Go look at that Vanderbilt game his junior year. Go look at him in the NCAA tournament against Pepperdine and Doug Christie his sophomore year. Georgia Tech, Malcolm Mackey, Travis Best, John Berry. This guy could do it all, man. He can do it all. Everybody knows how I feel about the hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. Granted, I might end up passing here in Douglasville, Georgia, but I still got strong ties. You ever heard that saying on the Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home? I miss that place, man. I miss it because of the basketball history. I miss it because all of the African Americans that played that game from a basketball standpoint. I miss the summers, the 70s, the basketball. Even in my high school, Reginald Cofield, Ray Irving, Philip Bridgeport, Thaddeus Moore, Michael Boylan, Coach William Kaler, Hamilton, Teddy Johnson, Clyde Pryor, Raymond Buggs, Northside, Edgar Johnson, Robert Barnes, Carver, Willie White, Frazier, Vincent Askew, Mitchell, Maceo Battle, Andre Turner, and have a gentleman to come back home and coach. It's emotional, man. Every time I see somebody doing well from Memphis, my hometown, I miss it every day. Because in the 70s, it was no better place to grow up in. You had people that was doing very well. And basketball was a high level. And make no bones. No bones. Basketball's the king, and I'm proud of Penny Hardaway as the head coach of the University of Memphis basketball program. And it hurts me when he was struggling last year. The Tigers were 9-8. And I was going online and listening. And how everybody, the same people that was praising him, turning their back on him. But however, they turned it around. They got to the tournament and they had Gonzaga on the ropes. 10-point lead at halftime. Over there in Portland, Oregon. The second half, I'm going to put it out there. I seen some calls that changed the game. And they got Gonzaga back in the game. Gonzaga ended up winning that game. But Penny had already done what he's supposed to do. I'm not saying he's going to win a national championship as a head coach at the University of Memphis. But I tell you this, all you programs from Duke to North Carolina, all you basketball savants out there talking about college basketball here locally in Atlanta, all your people that say in the Big Ten, trust me, he's going to put everybody on notice. Everybody was glad to see Amari Bates leave and said Penny was behind him not developing him. You're going to regret that. Because one thing that you're looking at that young man on the screen, he's built for this. As I tell you, it's something in the water in Mississippi. It's something in the water with this young man. The only child raised by his grandmother, who at the time was in her 80s. Several serious things that happened in his life from his career. People killing him from all over. But one thing about Penny Hardaway, I love, he is very, very grounded. Look at his staff. You think Larry Brown would have came and coached with him? Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. Let's get real. Granted, he might have been a little arrogant when he got in the NBA. I heard Kobe Bryant, the late great Kobe Bryant, no question about it, one of the great top 3 players, said Penny kind of shoved him. But don't take that personal. All NBA players got a swagger. Then the situation in Orlando, everybody want to blame it on Penny. Yeah, maybe. But the one thing, I don't care about that. The Lord found his heart, and he decided to come back to Memphis, Tennessee. He put them 901s on that warm-up, and they made the NCAA tournament. And see, when I get all these people looking in my face out here, you know who you are. You're close to me. Penny garbage. Penny can't coach. What Penny doing? But you know what? He made that school more money from a basketball standpoint. The University of Memphis, they've done in 5 years. You know what? He's got him on the national television level. John Calipari had put him there along with Dana Kirk. But look what Penny, he's did it different. And he still get a lot of kids that want to come play for him. And when he walk around in town in Memphis, he still goes to several golf courses. He still goes to several restaurants. And he's still one of us. The pride. See, don't hate on me because I love talking about the town. Don't hate on me because I talk about my parents. Don't hate on me because I'm so proud and you sit back. I know what you're thinking out there, sports fans. What's wrong with this guy? Ain't nothing in Memphis. Memphis got a lot of crime. But however, when college basketball started in 2022, there's going to be somebody saying, what's going down there in Memphis, Tennessee? Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers. Don't say we carrying, you know what, we doing things illegally. Just say our favorite song is at home. And he's doing something with the program that's never been done. He's going to eventually get back to the national championship game and win it all. I don't know when it's going to happen. I hope I'm alive, but it's going to happen here shortly. And don't bank on stating that he won't be able to get players. That's never going to go down because look at his career. Look at his skill set. Everybody talk about Jimmy Butler's skill set. Everybody talk about James Harden's skill set. Even LeBron James. But make no bones, Penny was 6'7", 6'8". He can get up on the rim. He can jump. He can pass. And he was a guard that could handle that ball. All I can say is it's great to bring this young man to the forefront. And an honor and pride to do a video on Penny Hardaway, the greatest basketball player to ever come out of Memphis. It's no bones. It's no argument. And one of the top 5 college basketball players that ever came through college basketball. When you look at his career, you look at his highlights, you look what he's done, you'll be more than think different about him. If you like the video, please come in and share it. It's been an honor, a pleasure to talk about this young man from my hometown. All I can say, the pride I have for Memphis, Tennessee goes deep, baby. It's a place that I'm never going to forget. Southland Mall, Beale Street, Orange Mile, South Memphis, Whitehaven, Longview Heights, Bunker Hill, Frazier, North Memphis, Barbecue, Paynes, The Rendezvous, Interstate, Neely, Music, David Porter, Isaac Hayes, Staple Singers, Otis Redding, Booker T and MGs, the Barcades and Larry Dawson. You're not feeling me today. Memphis on the map. Basketball at its highest level. Penny Hardaway. I'm a soul man. Be blessed. I'm Vincent Turner, 100 yards of football.